Anyone who steals my son's fiancée is fired.
I was talking to my girlfriend, Emily, and suddenly the CEO told me I was fired. I protested to the CEO, not understanding what was going on, but his words fell on deaf ears. Anyway, I was fired on the day for stealing his son's fiancée. Feeling hopeless after losing my job. But later, the CEO realized his mistake.
A $50 million deal. Who's handling it?
The CEO asked his other employees over the phone, but the person in charge is no longer with the company.
He got fired by the CEO yesterday.
What?
When the truth comes out, the CEO regrets his misunderstanding and apologizes to him. My name is Trevor Davis, and I'm turning 42 this year. Even though I'm already past 40, I'm still single. I've been too focused on my work, completely missing my chance to get married. All my classmates are married with kids, and all the juniors at work are married too. I also wanted to get married, but I just couldn't find the right timing. But I have a wonderful girlfriend. Her name is Emily Thompson, and she's turning 35 this year. We've been dating for a year now. We met 2 years ago when Emily came to this company to change her job. Her charming smile and her friendly demeanor towards everyone left a strong impression on me. At first, I only saw her as a junior coworker, but I was drawn to her carefree smile. And before I knew it, I confessed my feelings. It was partly impulsive, but miraculously, she said yes, and we started dating. Now, after a year has passed, I've started thinking about marriage. My feelings are torn between feeling like it's too late for marriage and wanting to marry Emily. In the midst of these conflicting emotions, I bought an engagement ring for her. I still haven't given the ring to Emily, and we haven't even had a concrete discussion about marriage. I'm not even sure if Emily will accept the ring. Anyway, I lacked confidence. While carrying all these thoughts in my heart, I continued to work. Other than that, life was peaceful. But then a big event happened. It all started when our CEO, Mark Johnson, brought his son, Dylan, to the company.
From now on, my son Dylan will be working here. I'm counting on all of you.
I'm looking forward to working with you.
Dylan is 34 years old, younger than me, and seems to have joined this company recently. He used to work in an IT company, but left due to difficulties in interpersonal relationships. He worked for only 6 months after graduating, then quit and has been living at home ever since. So, he hasn't been working for about 10 years. My first impression of Dylan was timid and seemed unfamiliar with people. If he hasn't interacted with people properly for 10 years, it's no wonder. Since Dylan was assigned under me, I exchanged brief greetings with him and immediately started teaching him the job. Nice to meet you. Let's get started by reading this manual first.
Yes, I understand.
After you finish, I'll need you to input this data. Thanks in advance. For about 3 hours, Dylan sat in his chair reading the manual. But this manual should have been finished in an hour. Yet for some reason, he didn't say anything when he finished. How's it going? Have you finished reading the manual?
Yes, I finished reading it 2 hours ago.
Why didn't you tell me that? It seems Dylan is not good at initiating conversations himself and doesn't say anything until we ask him. I thought it was a fatal flaw as a professional, but he seems to be trying his best to work. Feeling like I need to support him, I decided to patiently deal with Dylan. but I'm quite busy myself, so I can't afford to constantly worry about Dylan. I want him to become independent soon, but at this rate, who knows how many years it will take. Dylan and I are in sales, and at least a year from now, he needs to be able to handle client visits on his own. Considering the shortage of staff in our department, ideally, he should be able to stand on his own within a month. But it seems difficult for Dylan, so we'll have to take a long-term view. Whether Dylan knows it or not, he hasn't even been able to handle simple tasks I've assigned. How did you manage to mess this up?
I'm sorry, I double-checked, but
Such exchanges continued for about a month. Although I had to work overtime to clean up after Dylan's mistakes, I never missed a date with Emily.
Speaking of which, how's the CO's son?
He's quite a handful.
It must be tough. Just watching from nearby makes me tired too.
Emily works in the same department as us, handling administrative tasks. She hasn't directly interacted with Dylan yet, but it seems she doesn't want to get involved just by watching.
I'm worried now that I'll have to work with him one day.
Don't worry. By then, he should be able to stand on his own. I said that, but even after a year since joining the company, nothing has changed with Dylan. He still can't even handle basic tasks like answering the phone, and I can't trust him with anything at this rate. I used to be by his side teaching him various things, but from now on, he needs to make the effort himself. With that in mind, I decided to ask him to create a document for the first time. Surprisingly, Dylan worked hard and even worked overtime to finish the document. That day, Emily and I were also working overtime, but we had plans for our date. So after finishing about an hour of overtime, we left the office. Emily, have you finished your backlog of work?
Yeah, just a little more, so wait for me.
After talking to Emily, I waited near her desk for a while. Then, feeling a gaze from somewhere, I looked around the office, and the source of the gaze turned out to be Dylan. What's up? Is there something you don't understand?
no. Are you close with Emily?
Oh, yeah, Emily and I are a couple. As soon as I answered, Dylan's eyes sharpened like never before.
Hey, it's almost time for our reservation.
Oh, right. Let's go. I inadvertently froze, but Emily's voice brought me back to reality. The day after enjoying a dinner date with Emily, I was suddenly summoned by the CEO.
Do you know why you're here?
No. What can I do for you today?
Don't play dumb. Anyone who steals my son's fiancée is fired.
I was stunned by the sudden accusation. Son, referring to Dylan, right? What does he mean by stealing Dylan's fiancée? I didn't even know Dylan had a fiancée in the first place. Wait a minute. What do you mean by stealing a fiancée?
My son is dating and recently got engaged to Emily Thompson.
I heard the CEO's words, but nothing registered in my mind. Thompson is Emily's last name. I don't know anyone else with the last name Thompson. So is he talking about my girlfriend, Emily? Is Emily Thompson from our company?
Oh, yeah, that's right. What nerve to ask my son's fiancée out on a date, knowing she's engaged.
Wait a minute. Emily and I are dating. I tried to appeal to the CEO, but he wouldn't listen. Instead, he began to distrust me.
You've done well enough so far, but this is unacceptable.
It's really just a misunderstanding. Please, talk to Dylan and Emily.
I've heard everything from my son. There's nothing more to discuss. I'll handle the paperwork. You don't need to come in starting tomorrow.
After that, I was forcibly ejected from the CEO's office. In the end, the CEO didn't listen to me at all, and I went home after packing up my personal belongings. Maybe I should have argued more, but I had been dissatisfied with the company for a while, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity. The CEO said he would handle the resignation process, so I went home and fell into a deep sleep. Little did I know that this action would change the fate of both the CEO and Dylan. The next day, I woke up to the ringtone of my smartphone. The caller showed the company's number, so I quickly answered the call. It's Trevor.
Why aren't you at work?
The caller was a colleague from a different department. Well, I was unfairly fired by the CEO yesterday.
What? Getting fired out of the blue is terrible.
Yeah, it is. I tried to explain, but he wouldn't listen. I recounted yesterday's events over the phone. As my colleague expressed sympathy, I could hear the CEO's voice over the line.
A $50 million deal. Who's in charge?
After hearing such a loud voice, my colleague responded to the CEO.
He got fired by the CEO yesterday.
What?
It seems like the CEO was near my colleague, and they overheard our conversation. Since I was just talking about getting fired, my colleague sounded slightly angry when they said that.
What's going on? Explain it properly.
I think it would be better to talk directly since we're connected on the phone right now.
My colleague said that and handed the receiver to the CEO.
We have an important deal. Where the hell are you?
You said yesterday that I was fired without question, right?
Could that voice possibly be Trevor's?
The moment the CEO realized it was me on the phone, he seemed very surprised. He probably hadn't even considered that the person he fired for personal reasons would have a crucial $50 million deal the next day.
Anyway, come to the company because the deal is starting.
No, I'm no longer an employee there, so I can't attend the deal.
What are you talking about? That's not going to fly.
Even though he said I was fired, when I told the CEO that I wouldn't attend the deal, he started yelling loudly in anger. First of all, the procedures regarding my resignation were supposed to be handled by the CEO, and my resignation has been officially accepted. So, no matter how angry he gets, I have absolutely no obligation to show up at the office. The one who unilaterally fired me was the CEO, right?
Stop talking nonsense and come here now, right this instant.
No, I have no intention of going there. Please don't call me again. I told the CEO that and hung up the phone. After that, the phone kept ringing incessantly. But as the time for the deal approached, it stopped ringing altogether. They're probably having a hard time with the deal. Then, one day after a few days had passed, the intercom at my house rang in the morning, and I opened the front door still in my pajamas. There stood the CEO and his son Dylan. Why are you here?
You stole Dylan's fiancée. Apologize right now.
I've been saying it's a misunderstanding, haven't I?
Are you going to cause a big loss to our company and trouble to Dylan?
It seems the CEO is angry about me not showing up for the deal. And now he's come all the way to my house accusing me of stealing his son's fiancée. First of all, you unilaterally fired me, right?
After that, things got really tough because you didn't show up. The deal we've been planning went down the drain.
Since I, who was supposed to handle the deal, didn't show up, Dylan ended up participating in the deal at the last minute. Of course, all thanks to the CEO's unilateral decision. He probably wanted to entrust Dylan with a big project, but it was too soon for Dylan. As expected, since Dylan didn't know much about the product we were supposed to pitch, a $50 million deal had to be postponed.
A $50 million deal doesn't come by easily, you know. What are you going to do about it?
You left it to your son, didn't you? Please don't shift the blame onto me. Getting yelled at for no good reason early in the morning, I couldn't help but hold my head in frustration. I never thought they'd come all the way to my house like this when I thought it was over.
It's all because you stole his fiancée.
How long are you going to believe such lies? Just look at Dylan's face. Dylan has been looking awkward since earlier, emitting an atmosphere of wanting to leave quickly. At that moment, I suddenly realized the CEO really believes Dylan's lies? Hey, why don't you tell the truth? What's the reason for lying?
I fell in love with Emily, that's why.
Dylan muttered in a barely audible voice.
Wait, so, is it a lie that you're engaged?
That's what I'm saying. He didn't like that Emily and I were getting along, did he?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It seems Dylan secretly developed feelings for Emily at first sight. However, he became jealous seeing her being close to me. Moreover, it seems he lied about being engaged to drive a wedge between Emily and me, as rumors had been circulating within the company that I might propose to her. And if possible, he apparently intended to kick me out of the company and become Emily's fiancé.
I felt really uncomfortable seeing you two going on frequent dates.
But that doesn't justify lying. Besides, Emily won't turn to you even if you do something like that. Since Dylan confessed the truth, the CEO is now in a panic, completely different from before. It's only natural that he's in a rush, considering he had treated me as the villain without any evidence.
So, does this mean Trevor isn't at fault at all?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. It's the first time I've ever felt like this.
What have you done? Apologize right away.
Instead of apologizing to me, the CEO is yelling at Dylan outright. The CEO, who unreasonably believed the lie and fired me without any grounds, is the one at fault. Granted, Dylan, who was lying, is also at fault, but I find the CEO more unforgivable. Isn't it a bit unfair to get mad? I'd like an apology from the CEO too.
What? An apology from me?
Yes, you're the one who forgot about my contributions to the company and said I was fired on the spot, right? Unable to find the right words, the CEO muttered something under his breath while slightly bowing his head. After that, he finally apologized to me.
Sorry about that. Anyway, won't you come back?
Is it because I was the top performer in sales?
Yeah, we go into the red without you.
Truth be told, I was indeed the top performer in sales at the company. So being fired by the CEO must have been a big deal, and the employees who didn't know the circumstances probably think I did something wrong. Even if asked to come back, I don't feel like working again under such misunderstandings. I appreciate your words, but I don't plan on returning anymore.
Why not?
I've been invited to work at a friend's company. After being fired yesterday, I talked to a friend about it. At that time, a friend's company happened to have a vacancy and was looking for someone who could immediately contribute. Apparently, they approached me because of my track record in sales. Since I had already expressed my willingness to work there, I couldn't go back to my previous workplace.
That's unfortunate.
Please refrain from coming to my house. I said that and closed the front door. For a while, the CEO and Dylan argued in front of the entrance, but the landlord came over because of the commotion, so they left. After some time passed, my former workplace began to struggle with declining sales and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Talented employees kept leaving one after another, making it difficult to recover. A $50 million deal happened twice after I left. However, due to Dylan's incompetence, the contract fell through both times. Subsequently, they couldn't secure new projects, lacked funds to hire new talent, and had to significantly reduce their workforce to cut costs. As a result, the remaining employees bore the brunt, struggling even with regular tasks. Among the remaining employees, many are considering changing jobs. How do I know this? Well, I heard it from a colleague who recently switched jobs.
It was tough after you left.
I am sorry for the trouble.
Don't worry about it. Besides, it was you who was unfairly forced to quit.
Even after leaving the job, I regularly meet up with my former colleagues to catch up and share updates. Emily, who left the company around the same time as me, is now working elsewhere, so she doesn't know much about the current situation. However, she does know that Dylan lied about being engaged to try to get rid of me.
I don't want to work with those people.
Then, should Emily work at your friend's company too?
Really? Is that okay?
And that's how Emily and I ended up working at the same company again. Despite everything that happened, I believe quitting my job was the right decision. When I was asked to come back, I did have the option to return. But luckily, I was invited to work by a friend, and now I'm being appreciated more than I deserve. Thanks to my friend's intervention, Emily is also working with me, and I couldn't be more grateful to my friend. From now on, I'm determined to work hard to contribute to the company in return for this favor. When Dylan found out that Emily was leaving the company, he seemed extremely panicked. Then, he suddenly showed up at the office with a big bouquet of roses and proposed in front of everyone.
That was really embarrassing. I couldn't even ask for help because Trevor wasn't there.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you during a tough time.
No, it's okay. But thanks to that, I could say exactly what I was thinking.
When Emily received the bouquet, she expressed her anger as if she were releasing all the pent-up frustration she had been feeling. It seems Dylan treated Emily differently, giving her souvenirs and presents and talking to her more than necessary. While Emily responded the same way to everyone, Dylan seemed to interpret it as a sign of affection. The more Emily responded with a smile, the more Dylan would come on strong and talk to her, which Emily found annoying.
I don't like you. I have someone I want to marry, I said.
Someone you want to marry? No way?
What do you mean?
Emily smiled in response to my question. Sometime later, I proposed to Emily. I honestly didn't expect her to want to marry me after her previous statement. But if Emily felt the same way I did, then when else would be a better time to propose? With that thought bolstering me, I proposed at the restaurant where we had our first date. I want to be with you, Emily, forever. Will you marry me?
Oh, come on. Say it sooner. I want to be with you too, Trevor.
As she said this, Emily extended her left hand towards me. When I slid the engagement ring onto her finger, applause erupted around us. I was too nervous to notice, but it seemed like the other customers had witnessed the proposal scene. Emily and I bowed to the people, who applauded us shyly, then left the restaurant after finishing our dessert. Holding hands, Emily and I walked through the streets under the chilly sky. From now on, I made a resolution in my heart to put more effort into making Emily happy